My son's midnight text didn't just uninvite me, it tried to turn me into the payment plan. It was 11:02 p.m., and my house was quiet in that late-night way that makes every sound feel louder than it should. The kitchen clock clicked. The refrigerator sighed. I had my reading glasses on, and my fingers were still tacky from sealing little zip bags. I'd packed a tiny pouch for each grandchild, kid-sized sunscreen, Band-Aids with cartoon animals, and new toothbrushes in bright colors so nobody would argue over whose was whose. I even tucked in 2 small seashell charms I found online, because I wanted them to carry something from Grandma all week. Then my phone lit up. One message. From Daniel. My only child. I expected a quick question about the schedule, maybe a "did you print the confirmations?" because I was the one who kept everything straight. Instead, the screen gave me this: "Mom, don't come on the trip. Kara wants it to be just her side. You already handled the costs." No greeting. No softness. No, "can we talk?" Just a sentence that shoved me out of a dream I'd been building for 3 years. And do you know what hurt first, the words, or the fact he chose texting so he wouldn't have to hear my voice crack? I didn't answer. Not because I was being brave. Because my hands went cold and my mind went blank. I stared at my phone until the screen dimmed, like it was embarrassed to stay awake for that kind of message. On the table beside me sat my own packed bag. 2 sundresses I hadn't worn in ages. A small bottle of lavender lotion because the scent reminded me of my late husband, Frank. And a framed photo of him, smiling, sunburned, looking young and mischievous, because this trip wasn't only about beaches. It was about memory. Frank and I had gone to Hawaii on our honeymoon when we were nearly broke. We ate cheap sandwiches and laughed until we couldn't breathe. After he passed, I promised myself I'd take the family there once, just once, so the grandkids could feel what we felt. Was that really such a selfish dream? I had planned everything like a woman knitting a quilt, stitch by stitch, quiet and patient. I booked the flights, the villa, the rental car. I chose activities safe for little knees and older hips. I even checked which restaurants had chairs with backs, because Kara's mother complained about stools. And now, with one text, I was being told my role was finished. Pay, then disappear. For a few minutes, shame rose up before anger did. Not shame that I'd done something wrong, shame that I'd believed love would be returned in the same shape I gave it. Have you ever felt that? The kind of shame that makes you want to fold yourself smaller? I almost called Daniel. I truly did. I even lifted the phone. But what would I say? Please let me buy my way back into my own family? I couldn't. My throat tightened just imagining it. So I did something else. I walked into my den, turned on my old laptop, and waited for it to wake up like an aging dog. The screen finally brightened. I opened a folder I'd labeled Island Savings. Inside was the balance I'd been guarding like a secret, $23,118.42. It didn't start as a big number. It started as 1s and 5s tucked into a jar behind the flour. It grew when I skipped new shoes. It grew when I canceled cable and learned to live with silence. It grew when I tutored online at night, eyes burning, because a promise is a promise. I clicked into my banking app and found the account connected to every booking. There were multiple linked cards, one for lodging, one for flights, one for transportation, and others for the little add-ons that make a trip feel easy. Everything flowed from my name, my account, my effort. My finger hovered over one setting, lock transactions. A simple switch. No drama. Just a boundary. But before I touched it, I opened a blank document and typed a title instead. If not them, then who? Because a strange thought arrived, quiet, but steady. If my money could buy paradise for people who didn't want me there, then maybe it could buy peace for someone who would actually sit beside me at dinner. Isn't that what we all want in the end? Someone to pull out a chair? I started listing names. Women I knew who'd spent years being used up gently, like soap that disappears without anyone noticing. Ruth from church, who'd been widowed and still set 2 plates out at holidays. Denise, whose adult kids forgot her birthday every year. Margaret, who cared for her sister and hadn't had a real vacation in decades. I saved the document. Then I went back to the banking screen. I still didn't lock it. Not yet. Because once you stop being the family's safety net, they feel the fall. And I wanted to be sure I wasn't reacting, I wanted to be choosing. The next morning, I moved through my home like I was dusting a museum. I straightened picture frames that didn't need straightening. I refolded a towel that was already neat. I kept hearing Daniel's line in my head, "You already handled the costs." Was that what I was now, just a receipt with gray hair? That afternoon, an email arrived from the travel company. It was a full itinerary, times, confirmations, the names of travelers. My heart thumped as I scrolled. I told myself there would be an explanation, a mistake, some second reservation under my maiden name. There were 8 names. Daniel. Kara. Their 2 children. Kara's parents. Kara's sister. Kara's sister's boyfriend. 8. Not 9. Not me. No Evelyn anywhere. I zoomed in like that could change reality. It didn't. I closed the laptop slowly, like if I moved too fast the hurt would spill. Then my phone rang. Kara. Not Daniel. Kara's voice was bright, the way people sound when they're trying to keep a lid on something. "Hi, Evelyn. Just checking, final charges go through tomorrow, right? Everything good?" I swallowed. "Do you need me to bring anything?" I asked, soft, careful. "Snacks for the kids? Motion sickness bands?" Daniel used to get queasy. There was a pause. Then her tone sharpened without getting louder. "Oh, no. We've got it covered. Honestly, this is a good time for you to rest. Stay home and take care of yourself." Rest. Like being erased was a spa day. Do you see how some people can hurt you while smiling? After the call, I opened the lockbox where I keep important papers. My account documents were there, crisp and undeniable. Account owner, Evelyn Hart. Authorized users, none. No shared access. No joint ownership. Which meant the truth was simple, I had the power the whole time. That evening, I decided to offer one last doorway, just in case Daniel had a conscience hiding somewhere behind his silence. I texted him, "If you need help packing for the kids, I can stop by." That was it. No accusations. No guilt. Just an opening. He read it. I saw the little seen mark. Then nothing. "So tell me, how many times do you knock before you accept the house is no longer yours?" I opened my banking app again. My finger didn't shake this time. I switched on the lock. No sirens. No flashing lights. Just a quiet confirmation, transactions paused. And in that moment, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Not revenge. Not cruelty. Relief. Like setting down a heavy bag you didn't realize you'd been dragging. For the next 2 days, I stayed silent. I didn't comment on Kara's cheerful photos of matching luggage. I didn't react when Daniel sent a group message about big family trip energy. Big family, except the grandmother who paid. The morning of departure came. I knew their schedule because I made it. I pictured them walking into the airport wearing confidence like cologne. I poured coffee into my old mug, the one Daniel once used to bring me breakfast on Mother's Day when he was 9. At 8:16 a.m., my phone began to buzz. "Daniel, hey, we're having trouble at the counter. Card isn't going through. Can you check?" I didn't answer. 5 minutes later, "Mom, serious, everything is declining. Did the bank flag something?" Then calls. One after another. Then Kara. Then Kara's mother. The phone turned into a small angry animal vibrating across my table. I flipped it face down. My heart wasn't celebrating. It was steady. Because what I'd done wasn't punishment. It was protection. A voicemail came through from Daniel, his voice tight and low, trying to sound grown. Mom, please. The kids are right here. Just call me back. Isn't it interesting how quickly people remember your number when the bill arrives? An email landed next, from the rental company, confirming cancellation due to payment failure. Then another from the lodging, reservation released. Then the airline, tickets voided. Notification after notification, like dominoes falling in a straight line. I sat there and watched, not with triumph, but with a strange calm. I thought about the fact that Daniel didn't call to ask why I was hurt. He called to ask why the plan wasn't working. That told me everything. By mid-morning, the calls slowed. Then Daniel texted, "Okay, we messed up. Can you unlock it? We'll talk later, I promise." Later. Always later. Like my feelings were a chore to schedule. I didn't unlock anything. I didn't argue. I didn't write a speech. I stood up, put on my walking shoes, and went outside. The day was warm. A neighbor waved and asked, "You headed somewhere fun?" I smiled, and for the first time it wasn't forced. "Not today," I said. "But soon." When I came back, the refund alerts had started. Small amounts, then larger ones, returning like birds to a feeder. The money wasn't the point, but it was proof. Proof that what they wanted wasn't me. It was what I could provide. I opened that document again. If not them, then who? The cursor blinked like it was waiting for me to choose my own life. I added more names. Women who'd been overlooked at their own tables. Women who understood quiet pain without needing it explained. I called Ruth first. "Would you take a trip with me?" I asked. A long silence. Then a careful laugh. "Evelyn, are you teasing?" "I'm serious," I said. A week. Ocean view. No obligations. She started to cry, which made me swallow hard. "Why me?" she whispered. "Because you show up," I told her. "And you deserve to be somewhere beautiful." I called Denise next. Then Margaret. Then Joy. Then Clara. Each call had the same rhythm, disbelief, then a cautious hope, then the sound of a woman realizing she hadn't been chosen in a very long time. Within 48 hours, I rebooked everything, under my control, with names that made my heart feel lighter. 1 villa. 6 women. Separate beds. A big dining table. Plenty of time built in for naps, because we've earned our naps, haven't we? I packed differently this time. Not with anxiety, not with the fear of being too much. I packed a sun hat for myself. I packed a deck of cards. I packed Frank's framed photo again, but I wrapped it carefully and promised him, "This time, you're sitting with people who appreciate the seat." When we arrived, the air smelled like salt and warm wind. The house we rented sat above the water, and the view looked like it had been waiting for us. Ruth walked in and put a hand over her mouth. Margaret stood still, like moving would break the moment. No one rushed past me. No one treated me like staff. Denise hugged me and said, "I can't believe you did this." I answered, "I can't believe I waited so long." That first evening, we ate dinner together at a table big enough for all our stories. The sunset poured orange light into the room. Joy told us about her first job at a diner, how she used to hide extra pie for lonely customers. Clara admitted she hadn't worn a swimsuit in 20 years. I leaned forward and said, "Then we'll start small. Feet in the water tomorrow. No cameras unless you want them." Ruth exhaled, like I'd handed her permission. Isn't permission sometimes the greatest gift? Each night, I lit a small candle beside Frank's photo. Not as a performance. As a reminder. We took turns saying one thing we wished we'd known when we were younger. Margaret said, "I wish I knew rest was not a sin." Denise said, I wish I stopped apologizing for needing help. Then Joy looked at me and said, Evelyn, you're the first person who's taken care of me without keeping score. Love without respect is just a receipt. On the third day, we sat by the water with our feet buried in sand. Ruth asked quietly, do you miss them, meaning my son, my grandkids, the family I tried to hold together with planning and payment? I stared at the horizon. I miss what I hoped they were, I said. But I don't miss being invisible. Later that week, Clara surprised us all by laughing so hard she snorted, then didn't even apologize. Denise danced in the living room to an old radio station. Margaret slept 12 hours straight and woke up smiling like a child. I realized something out there. I hadn't purchased a vacation. I'd purchased a return to myself. And I did it by refusing to fund my own disappearance. 3 days after we got home, Daniel emailed me. Subject line, can we clear the air? My stomach tightened anyway. Because motherhood doesn't stop just because you grow boundaries, it just learns to live beside them. His email was long, but the meaning was short. He said things were misunderstood. He said Kara was stressed. He said the kids were confused. Then he asked if I could help cover what they had to pay when things fell apart. Not an apology, a request. I read it twice. Then I shut the laptop. I didn't write back. Because I finally understood a lesson I should have learned years ago. If someone only values you when you're paying, they don't value you at all. I went into my kitchen and poured iced tea. I looked out at my yard where Frank's wind chimes still hung, catching small breezes and turning them into music. I felt sad, yes, but not broken. Not lost. Clear. Do I still love my son? Of course I do. Love is stubborn. But love does not mean surrendering your dignity over and over until there's nothing left. That night, I opened my notebook and wrote a line at the top of a clean page, chosen is better than tolerated. Boundaries are what love wears when it finally respects itself. If you're listening and you've ever been treated like the family's backup plan, called only when someone needed a ride, a check, a babysitter, a solution, let me ask you something. When did you start believing that was all you were worth? Because you are not a wallet. You are not a convenience. You are a whole human being with a story that deserves a seat at the table. And if my story stirred something in you, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to Dust of Old Days. It helps these stories reach the people who need them most. As for me, I keep Frank's photo on my dining room shelf now. And when the light hits it just right, his smile looks almost alive, like he's proud I finally stopped buying love that never planned to keep me. I don't know what Daniel will do next. I don't know if Kara will ever admit the truth out loud. But I do know this, my life is not a payment schedule. And from now on, if you want access to my heart, you will not get there through my bank account. I set my glass down, listened to the wind chimes sing, and let the quiet feel like peace instead of punishment. Because some endings aren't tragedies. Some are exits, finally taken.